My lords, it's a pleasure to follow the noble Lord Kirkhope of Harrogate and to commend the noble Lord Holmes for a very clear introduction to 3 amendments that the Green Group is very happy to support all of these amendments. I will just apologise to the committee that I was absent for the last 2 days of the committee. Once I was stuck in the other chamber and the other day unavoidably away. So I apologise that I missed some of my own amendments. But I really did want to rise and speak on these amendments. And I'm going to start with 79 because I think we've just had a very useful argument for that. And I'm just going to very briefly add to that. Inclusive by design is talking about going beyond accessibility, going beyond saying, oh, we've got this thing, and what do we do now to make it accessible? Yep. This is starting from the very beginning. And this takes us back to the social model of disability. Our society, our products are designed to be non-inclusive. That is what we're doing now, and that is wrong in terms of allowing so many people to fully participate in our society. But I think it's also always important to make the argument that it's actually better for all of us, not just those of us who may have now or in the future a disability, if society is made to be, products are made to be easy to access, that you're able to do things, wrestling with opening a jar, those terrible rigid plastic packaging, toothbrushes and things that, very many people struggle with. If you made those things inclusive by design, they'd actually be better for all of us. And following the technological arguments already made, I was thinking back to I was helping an elderly man attempt to access his banking, and it was certainly not accessible to him. And as a friend, I knew his password and everything else because I had to. And the machine he had to press was about the size of a matchbox, and the keys were on that size of a matchbox, and I was struggling to press them. And it was two-factor authentication. And I couldn't understand the text message and work out which numbers in the text message were what you were actually supposed to put in. And, I've been using technology for many decades. So this, I think, is such important, and it could be real advance. Going back to the other 2 amendments in this group, Amendment 52, as the noble Lord Holmes said, expected that I would very much appreciate this one, and indeed I do, and it rather reflects, approaching in a different way, my Amendment 28 that the committee debated earlier. And it actually very much reflects a meeting I hosted this morning with SOAS ICOP entitled The Price of a Product, Who Really Pays? And the noble Lord Holmes referred to the fuzzy supply chains, the lack of transparency in the supply chain in so many ordinary products that all of us are forced to consume every day. And hidden behind that fuzziness are human rights abuses, environmental destruction, an enormous amount of misery. And we occasionally find out about that when a group of journalists have gone to a great deal of work and a great deal of effort to write an expose on this particular product. But actually, we need to say this needs to be got out about all of our supply chains. And this amendment in a bill about product regulation is obviously potentially taking us in that directive. And I'll note that the world is going ahead with this. We have in the EU, the Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive coming in. There's the proposed UN Treaty on Business and Human Rights. And this morning I was hearing from the Corporate Justice Coalition, who are calling for a failure to prevent provision in our supply chains, mirroring something that the government has already done in 2010 Bribery Act, a failure to prevent bribery. Companies should have a responsibility to prevent abuses in their supply chain. And of course, they're only going to be able to show that if they have the kind of transparency that the noble Lord's amendment is calling for. And I'm just going to very briefly finally comment on 53. I commend the noble Lord in calling these large language models, which are not artificial intelligence. But I think the amendment stresses that these are being rushed in with great environmental impact, as the noble Lord said, and they are potentially reshaping our entire physical world as well as our virtual world. And it's really important that we have regulation of how that reshaping happens.